It is a new era of GT racing globally with the Blancpain GT World Challenge making its debut, and it's happening this weekend right here at Circuit of the Americas. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish. Ryan Marine will be covering all the action down in pit lane. And this is the start of the season for a global concept of racing 18 different races around the globe. And it is a championship for the manufacturers in particular, comprised of races from 3 continental series, one of them right here, now called Blancpain GT World Challenge America. And it is absolutely great. One of the developments that we're very excited about is for the first time, we will be bringing you live web stream coverage of qualifying for the qualifying sessions for GT4 and now for the Blancpain GT World Challenge America, the GT3 machines, and they are taking to the track. And a couple of other little changes this year, Cal, in terms of the layout and the format of the racing in this now renamed championship. One of them is a big change in terms of how you determine the starting lineup for the second of the 2 doubleheader races.
Yeah, last year it was actually determined by the fastest lap in race 1. This year it's a separate qualifying segment to this session. So right now the drivers will be out there for 15 minutes. There'll be a 5-minute break. Then their co-driver will jump aboard, can throw some new rubber at the car, and that second session will determine the grids for the second race tomorrow.
And the other big changes in the race format itself, much is similar, but the 2 biggies are, 1, they're now 90-minute races, not 60-minute, and 2, along with the driver and tire change, refueling.
Yes, that's going to be a big part of this game, and it's a pretty tight window, 70 seconds to get all of your work done. That includes traversing down pit lane at 50K, so it gives the teams just over 30 seconds to get that driver change done, 4 tire change. So the teams that have the experience in sports car racing where pit stops have been part of their normal routine should have a bit of an edge, certainly in this opening weekend.
Absolutely, and one of the things that is very enticing here is the number of entries that we are seeing in this championship. Familiar teams from previous seasons coming back, teams that have been with the championship forever, like Capex Racing, continue with a great program, and we have some manufacturers returning. I mean, we've more than doubled the number of GT cars that ran in the opener of the Sprint X Racing last year right here at Circuit of the Americas, 23 cars.
It's exciting. It just seemed like every day there was a new announcement in the off-season, and to see 23 cars here spread between the 6 manufacturers that we'll have on the grid for the start of the season is very, very, it's just great to get our teeth into and get this season started. Great to see K-Pax back with the Bentleys. Not the Bentleys they ran last year. This is the updated version that was campaigning in Europe, ran at the Laguna Seca 8-hour race at the end of the season. Then K-Pax took those 2 cars from M Sport, and they're the cars that you're looking at right now in pit lane.
Had a chat about that car with Alvaro earlier in the weekend, and he was almost giddy about. He said the old car was great. This car, wow, really looking forward to it. We have a brand new Porsche GT3R. Pat Long returning with Wright Motorsports, who won the overall championship in 2017. We've got a couple of programs, this team coming over, P1 Motorsports with their GT3 Mercedes, JC Perez and Maxi Bouk will be driving that car. I mean, just some great programs, and of course the returning overall champions, Vilander and Molina in the Ferrari.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to see those guys campaign once again. First time they co-drove together was last year. They immediately got to victory lane. Tony won overall, of course, and the pairing won the Sprint X Championship last year. Tony never won in sprint competition. All his victories came alongside Molina, which was remarkable. Daniel Morad back. It was going to be a Pro-Am entry. They switched that up just a few days ago. It's now young Michael De Quesada versus his dad, Carlos, who was originally slated to campaign with Daniel in the Pro-Am category. So we got 6 cars now in the Pro leagues, and it's going to be fun to watch those guys do battle.
Oh, it's going to be great stuff. You just saw the number 82. That's Reese. And to have Reese in any paddock, that is a marquee name. And what they're working on is they, of course, have had that GT Le Mans program, which is factory support. It's not a factory program, but a lot of factory support. They're expanding their custom programs. Great to see that here as well. And there is a look at that number 20. too. That is Murad and De Quesada. Nice to have Muradness back in the paddock, and he was very quick in one of the practice sessions.
Yeah, I think he finished second in one of the sessions, so certainly it's going to be a stout two-car entry there from Allegri. You got Holzer and Hensler, campaigning the second car, so expects a lot of pace out of those two guys.
And as you can see from the shots and from that opening shot, we had a little bit foggy here, misty. The rain has stopped. It's misting a little bit, but we had rain earlier this morning, so the track is getting drier, and I think we're in that sort of sketchy area. In one of the touring car qualifying sessions that just unfolded, a couple of drivers went out on dry tires and were right in the hunt within their class. So you have to think here. You see that little dry line going. You think most of these guys are out on slicks?
I would think so. Yeah. There's definitely a line there. They're going to have to tiptoe and tread carefully because there's not a lot of ambient or track temperature, so forget the moisture on the racetrack. There's zero grip based on the temperatures that we're going to see here. So the drivers will just try and tread carefully, gradually build those pressures up, get the temperature into those Pirelli P0s. Then we should see some flying laps here. Just a 15-minute session. 5-minute break in the action where the driver change will occur and new Pirelli P0s can be thrown at the race car if you choose to do so.
Fastest time set in practice on a dry track yesterday was a 2:06.1. It was cold, but it was fairly dry. I don't think we're going to get there, but it just as a good reference point, certainly. One of the stories in that second official practice session, U.S. Racetronics, which has done Lamborghini Super Trofeo for a number of years, ran in the California 8 hours with young 15-year-old Steve Agacani, along with the very experienced Richard Antonucci. He's had IndyCar starts and the like, and they ran the Super Trofeo Lamborghini in the Cup class. They've made the move over to GT3 full-on with the Mercedes in a Pro-Am session, and Richard Antonucci topped the second practice session very, very quick. So impressive, and it's going to be fun to see that program.
It really is. It was quite a statement there yesterday. He led that final practice session to finish off the day. So expect great things from that group, as you said, making the move from Lamborghini platform over to the Mercedes AMG GT3 machine. And Antonucci has a lot of pace. His cousins, Eddie and Ross Cheever, who are very quick drivers of their own right.
Absolutely. In the Capex Racing number 9, Alvaro Parent set the fastest time, that 2:06.1. That car right there in the first practice session. They were at the back of the charts with no completed laps in the second one, so don't know if they were doing in-outs, just going out and then coming in, maybe practicing driver changes and the like, but didn't really get any kind of substantial time set. So we'll have to see where they slot, but they were certainly fast in that first session. And we're going to be following them here early on in this qualifying. They are certainly, I think with the changes made to that car on this track, the one area where it struggled a bit, Cal, the old car, was in sections like the S's where you had quick transitions. And they said that has been changed. This car has a much lower center of gravity. A lot of components move back and down, including driver's seat, etc. And they said that this car now, it's a lot more agile, and I love the way Andy Suchek put it. He goes, it's not as lazy in the front.
Not as lazy, and it's got a higher degree of comfort. The guys can really attack with this car without thought of it biting them. So even these experienced drivers, the old car was definitely a little bit of a different beast. So I think they're going to be licking their chops with the thought of attacking this 7-event championship, 14 rounds, of course, 2 each weekend for the title this year.
Just too bad it's not a good-looking car. Wow, is this thing pretty.
Oh, and the paint scheme, I love it.
Yep. Bentley green fading to black. With the yellow highlights for the number 9 car. It's a nice bit of kit. There is the R-Ferry Motorsport Ferrari. You see the team car of Bautista and Maxime Soulet. The highlights at the back of the car, blue.
Not a factor in the Pro lineups, but for the Pro-Am and the Am-Am, you have to designate the lower graded driver. If it's a Pro-Am split, we have different graded drivers within that lineup. The lower graded driver has to do this first qualifying segment, and he'll then start race 1. And then obviously the second driver will do the second part of qualifying and start race 2.
So this will be the end of the first completed lap here for the number 9.
Suchek behind the wheel. It's going to be good for that Capex group to have Andy Suchek and Maxime Soulet, who campaigned this car last year in the Blancpain Endurance Championship. Like the feed from, a little twitch there, Andy really putting it down now, trying to wring its neck. Grip is not quite there yet. Pressure should be starting to build. Ride heights and everything coming into their sweet spot at the same time.
All right, coming out to complete his first lap. As he comes through at a 2:28.3, we're just going to watch all the cars cycle through. And the first line you see there, that is the official finish line and scoring line. And Molina goes to the top right now at a 2:26.7. Bit of a spin for the 87 BMW.
You see the moisture on the track right there is certainly not dry where Cameron Motorsport cars got turned around.
And Henry Schmidt, that's the BMW of San Francisco M6 GT3. So you can see what happened here.
Well, he just loses it coming into the final corner on the brakes. Maybe just a bit too much rear brake bias. It's turned on him. So he must have stalled it, trying to find some life at this point of the game, but not a good place to be sitting because everyone's attacking, particularly on a greasy racetrack.
That's a target fixation moment. You don't want to have that happen, as you said, right at the track out point. Here's a look at Molina. Boy, he burst onto the scene relatively quickly, certainly in terms of North American visibility last year in his run with Vilander. And he is a Ferrari factory driver, as is Tony, but Tony, years of experience, and last year was Molina's first year as a factory driver, but he and Vilander just clicked and were absolutely dynamite in the Sprint X races. They seem to like the same setup on the car. They're about the same size. Everything just worked. And Tony Vilander is, one, immensely talented, but also he's pretty particular, and he'll tell you exactly what he thinks.
Oh, yeah.
And if he doesn't like something, he'll tell you that. And he literally was on the verge of, for Tony, raving about Molina. That says something.
It really does. It's he's one of those characters in motorsport. He demands a lot, has a lot of passion. He's very intense, and he'll tell you exactly how things are. And if a teammate is not performing, I'm sure he's very vocal in that, as we see Molina getting really twitchy there through 18. We understand that most of these drivers are on the Pirelli P0 slicks.
Pat Long, by the way, in the 58 Wright Motorsports Porsche Consulting. Porsche's jumped to second. Suchek, while we were watching, has gone to the top in the number 9 Bentley at a 2:20.006. Molina Long, a nice story here, the number 80. Nice to have Martin Barkey back in the paddock, driving an Acura NSX Racer's Edge, and Martin stepping up into the GT3 ranks.
This guy's a long way from the quick times of yesterday, 14 seconds, which is more like a wet weather tire lap. So I'm not sure if they're just treading carefully and trying to find the grip. We assume that most of these guys are on the slick tires, but I anticipate a quicker lap time the way they're pushing hard and seem beyond the limit.
How about the lap by Wei Lu in the 31 TR3 Ferrari?
He's the real deal.
I'll tell you, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, the Mini went and did some Ferrari Challenge and started working with Jeff Siegel, who of course is just magic in a Ferrari. And Wei is definitely, what's your comment? Way fast?
Way fast, he really is, and really taking it seriously. They're going to be doing an endurance championship, the ELMS, for the full season, and he's taking his fitness very seriously in the off-season. Talking to Jeff Siegel, his teammate, yesterday, he said, well, he's lost about 15 kilograms, and he looks like a different guy when you see him in the paddock this weekend.
I didn't recognize him in the truck. I stopped in to talk to the team and walked right by him looking for the drivers, and all of a sudden I get, hey, Greg, and I turned and I went, oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, he looking great and obviously driving extremely quickly.
Well, we talked about the difference in format, switching up to a 90-minute race. It's a long stint in one of these cars, driving them hard.
This is number 3 of Baptista, the Team K-Pax entry with the blue highlights, and currently sits 6th overall, 5th in the Pro category. And you mentioned his co-driver Maxime Soulet. Baptista, last year in the season finale of the Sprint part of the GT3 program, which does not exist anymore. I just want to point that out. This is now an all Sprint X2 driver format. But Baptista He showed up. I haven't seen that level of dominance in World Challenge GT level racing for a long time.
It was unbelievable. We've seen the young man emerge over the last couple of seasons at GTS back in 2017. Made the big jump up to the GT machines, and early going, sort of finding his feet, and then he started to show pace, and that was a great way for him to finish off the season. He had to go into the off-season with a lot of confidence, and coming back with the same team, same group, better race car underneath him. He's going to give Perrin a hard time, and Souček, for that matter, his teammate. He and Sule can really do some great things. Two very strong cars for K-Pax. And talking to Darren Raw, their program manager, yesterday, said we've got a third car coming, so who knows, we may see some limited outings with a third chassis for that group later in the season.
Baptiste just went to pole while we were talking about it provisionally here at a 2:15.9.
That's more like it.
We're getting down to it, absolutely. It's a Bentley, K-Pax Bentley 1-2 right now. Souček in the number 9 sitting second. But Baptista, what a great lap he put together here. There is Molina. Keep an eye on him, see if he's got an answer. Right now, he's about 9/10 of a second off of the pole. So we hop on board. Another nice development we're going to have for you this year on the web stream, as well as the CBS shows, CBS Sports Network shows here in the U.S. There will be live races on that network, and of course, be live coverage and global coverage as well. And we're going to have live onboards. Great to see that. And Daniel Murad, while we were watching this, at a 2:15.6, Cal has gone to the top in the number 22 Allegra Porsche.
I think it could come down to literally the last man to get the last flying lap in for this session, because this racetrack is just going to get quicker and quicker. And then you just hope that you've made the right guesstimate in terms of your setup. It's not a fully dry track. It doesn't have the grip levels that they've experienced earlier in the practice sessions this weekend. So maybe they made the car a little bit more compliant, trying to find the grip from the suspension setup versus the tire and the racetrack. Look at Miguel Molina totally on top of this race car. Awesome shots we're seeing here on board.
All right, here he comes. See what time he puts in. Souček has gone to the pole. Molina at a 2:13.721 puts the R Ferry Ferrari back on top.
Fastest in Sector 2 and Sector 3. Sector 2 is between turns 4. Midway through the S is all the way down the back stretch before turn 12, and that final sector brings you to the start-finish line. So Morad was quickest in Sector 1. Now Souček goes fastest in Sector 1. So it's changing quickly here between the various teams, drivers, and manufacturers.
Just watch Baptiste as he went up into turn number 1. The car skated just a little bit on him. That'll cost some time. And in these conditions, just finding that absolute perfect level of grip without exceeding it, always a challenge, but in these conditions especially so. Molina, Souček, Baptista, Ferrari, Bentley, then Porsche long sits 5th.
He called it. He lost 3/10 over Souček in that first sector, so it's going to be hard to recover for Baptista on this lap. Then the key is going to be, do you get that next lap? See the time running down.
All right, on board here, this is this long blast from turn 11 down to 12. Climbs and undulates a little bit, but it is flat out.
He should get an additional lap after this one, so that's the good news.
Oh, Marco Holzer in the 24, the Team Allegra Porsche, jumps up into the top 5. And Murad
back on top.
What a run.
13s now. Now we're starting to see some representative times. Now they're about 7 seconds. They were 20 seconds off dry times from yesterday. Now they're starting to get the heat and performance out of those Pirelli P0s. And it's just going to get quicker and quicker at this stage of the game.
Riding on board, give a nod here. Second in Pro-Am behind Wei Lu now is Till Bechtelsheimer. Doesn't have a lot of experience in GT3 level equipment and running with the new team, Gradient Racing, and the Acura NSX team here with Ryan Eversley. Till doing a very nice job.
Yeah, 2 Acura NSXs in the field this weekend, and a third will be joining the party. Big announcement yesterday from Real Time Racing. Brett Curtis will be teaming up with Dane Cameron, current Penske driver, and they'll be competing at the second round of the Sprint X Championship at VIR.
Baptista 2:12.6, but in front of him, Souček onto the pole, provisionally at 2:11.7 in the number 9 K-Pax Bentley.
This is the one that counts.
Yep.
Rodrigo really needs to clean up. He still looked like he pushed a little bit too hard on the entry to turn 1 there. Look at these first sectors and see how that compares with his teammate, but got to put in a clean lap now and execute. This is the one that will count for everybody.
Brad sneaking around the number 5 of Bechtelsheimer. Looks like he got over and was able to get back on the line he wanted before he got into the brakes. We'll see what he's able to do here. Molina has moved back up into 3rd.
What a gap that Souček has, 8/10 over the rest of the field, and his teammate is in that 2nd spot. We know that Baptista didn't put together a clean lap there. Can he close that margin enough to be a factor for the pole? These guys are on their last lap here, last few corners. Checkered flag is out.
All right, here we go. Number 22, Murad through 19. One more turn. What can he do?
Yeah, he's been personal best, but not purple sectors. I'm not sure it's going to be enough for the pole. He could improve his time, though.
Oh, Baptista.
Murad up to 2nd at 1:12.3. Still 6/10 off the pole. Faster lap still to come, potentially.
Yeah, Murad had the fastest overall time in the 3rd sector. Baptista got through that 1st sector well. Purple, fastest of those, everybody in that 1st sector. So we'll see what he's able to do. A personal best.
Souček takes over the sector 1 time. Baptista goes purple in sector 2. It could be a battle between the 2 Bentleys for the pole.
Oh, this is great stuff. Watching Baptista working through this triple apex right-hander, dropping down, setting up for 19. It's going to be fun to watch.
The load he's putting through that car right there. You can see that car hopping on exit. Can Baptista steal the pole?
Here he comes to the line. Molina jumped to 2nd. Baptista pushes him back.
Wow, Souček put a faster lap in. Baptista just a 10th off.
Wow, that's incredible.
Bentley 1-2.
Molina 3rd in the Ferrari. Murad in the Porsche 4th.
Great battle there between Andy Souček and Rodrigo Baptista, the K-Pax teammates. They sweep the front row as we see everyone completing the laps. Defending champs at 3rd. Murad a nice run, leading the Porsches there in the 4th position.
Yeah, Murad is for real. And he is so thrilled. This is a team he won the 24 Hours of Daytona with and has had some experience with this team, and he said this is just a golden opportunity. Have a look right there at the AM category defending champion Cesar Baccarella. Sits 2nd in the AM category right now. Great run by Joe Toussaint in the 991 Porsche to top the AM charts.
Yeah, that's a great lap. I'll be stoked about that. Baccarella, I was talking to him yesterday. He ran the Xfinity race at Daytona a few weeks ago. Said he's running up in the top 3, qualified 12th, and got taken out with a couple of laps to go. He's going to be doing about 7 or 8 races, he said, over there. So busy racing program for him this year.
Take a look there at the provisional results from this first qualifying session. There's the sweep of the front row by the Bentleys, the Ferrari of Molina, and the 2nd driver listed there is the driver who'll be getting in and generally getting in and doing the 2nd session. There are some exceptions, we'll point that out. But a big story there, I think, fastest of the Pro-Am cars is the P1 Motorsports Mercedes, JC Perez. Driver does not have a lot of experience in racing, doing a nice job and ending up in front of Wei Lu until Bechtelsheimer.
Yeah, I think it's only his 6th race in this car, so very impressive. Got a new engineer over there. Kent Stacy is working with that group. He has a lot of experience and brings a lot to the table, so potentially going to be running 2 separate programs this year in sports car competition.
And another big development, number 91, Anthony Imperato. Ran a couple of races, gave GT3 a try last year in this championship. Really liked how everything unfolded, put together a great program. He's been with Wright Motorsports forever, and they are now in a full-on Pro-Am full season effort in that Henry repeating rifle 91 Porsche from Wright Motorsports, and they're going to be a serious contender in Pro-Am. I don't think there's any question as we watch number 9, Souček, into the pits, and now the changes start.
Alvaro Brent going to try and replicate what his teammate just did. They certainly want a better start to this year than they did last year, Greg. Alvaro Brent, I mean, boy, oh boy, they just couldn't catch a break. many big shunts last year, really put a dampener on their championship, and came back strong in the middle of the season, but they were going through chassis like most people go through sandwiches. It was unbelievable.
And I mean, the crew, the support from Bentley, because when they have a chassis wreck, and none of it his fault really, and they'd end up having to bring it in, and Bentley was right there. And the Capex team doing the job, and they rebounded. And of course, at Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, that's when their season sort of turned around a little bit with an absolutely fabulous run. I think what they're going to be extremely encouraged with was this car last year wasn't particularly good at Circuit of the Americas for the reason you're talking about, all that twisty bits. Sweep of the front row. I think they got to be licking their chops at the opportunity here. And the one thing, just to make a point here about sometimes it's not the winning drive that may be your best drive of the season. I thought last year Alvaro's best drive was at Long Beach, at a track where that car was nowhere near really a front time, ended up with a podium in those points. That was just brilliant racecraft.
Yeah, I think so. And you look at performance like that, it's a bit like watching Alonso in Formula One when he didn't have the best car underneath him for the past couple of seasons. Still put in great performance, still give it 1,000,000% and maximize the result.
Yeah, absolutely. So now the second drivers are getting on board again. With the regulations, if you're in the pro class, all pro class, you can nominate whatever driver you want, but in the Pro-Am and Am, it's the lower of the two rated drivers. And we're not saying the faster or slower, we're saying the lower of the two rated drivers has to do the first session, the higher rated driver has to do second. And here we go. Track is green. Everybody's queued up for the most part at pit out, and it's time to go.
So pumped up Tony Vilander jumping in. I know that they're going to be starting the first race from the second row of the grid if everyone passes technical inspection, obviously, after this qualifying run. But teams are allowed to do changes during the session. It's such a short window in trying to get those tires up to temp. Don't expect anyone to be coming in and fiddling with the race car during this 15-minute spurt here. But certainly during that break there, they could have made some slight changes to the setup.
All right, as we're watching the cars getting ready to go out and start this session, let's get down to Ryan Marine with Andy Suchek.
Congratulations on pole, Andy. Take us through the session. It looked like the grip level just came up as you went along, and those times they were coming in hot at the end of the session.
Well, we knew we had to, if we wanted to go out on slicks, which I think was the right thing to do, we had to wait until the end of the session for the tires to get temperature and the track to dry out a bit more. It was very tricky out there. There were 3 or 4 sections of the track that were still a bit damp. But, once you get the temperature on the tire, you slide a bit around, but you can still be able to perform better than on the rain. So, happy days. The car was really good. I had traffic on my last lap. Otherwise, I could have done quite a much better lap time, but it was enough for a pole. So, I'm very pleased, especially for K-Pax and Bentley. First race of the season on pole is no better way to start.
And a Bentley 1-2. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Ominous for the rest of the field, huh?
Yeah.
There was more in it.
We didn't catch all of that lap, certainly. So, Tony there, really deep there. And as Andy said, it's a tricky racetrack out there. Be a little bit drier than when the first drivers were going through their opening lap. But nonetheless, Tony wants to get up on the wheel. You want to just take a little bit of risk right now in terms of just trying to push that tire, load that tire so the temperatures will build. Because who knows, maybe they still weren't at the optimum temperature and pressure at the end of that first segment. So for Tony Vilander, he's going to try and want to push this car as hard as he can without taking any big risk to get those Pirelli P0s into their sweet spot. On board with him here, the Flying Finn. Busy program this year. When I spoke to him in the offseason, he wasn't sure he was going to be able to come back here. He said, I've got 2 children in the family now. He does Formula One broadcasting for Finnish TV, runs in another sports car program. He said, I hope I can be back with Arthur and defend the title, but he wasn't sure. But it's great to see him back and reunited with Molina.
Absolutely. They were, I just about said, a dynamic duo last year, but they were. There was no other way to put it. They just did a nice job. It's going to be interesting now in this one. As you said, we've got different group of drivers.
See the twitch. That is some fast hands right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
That put it all into perspective. You blinked, you missed it, but Tony had a big catch there. You're just treading so carefully. The inputs have to be slower than normal. You can't be too aggressive. until you start to get that bite, start to get that feel underneath you that you've got the car and the tire working well.
Now into the second section of S's. Now,
those S's just keep coming at you, Greg. Plunge down the hill into the brake zone. They've milled the track a little bit there. You'll see this kind of weirdness from the camera angles. Almost looks like there's extra damp in those certain sections. That's just where the track is a different surface. Literally, it's been ground down, taking some of the big bumps that have been gradually easing into their surface over the last couple of off seasons.
You just saw in that shot of those three cars, that red, white, and blue Mercedes. That is the DXDT Mercedes, David Askew's team. And he has Ryan Dial on board as a co-driver for the full season and fielding a second car as George Kurtz and Colin Braun move up into the GT3 ranks. And both, it's going to be fun to see with Dial and Braun out in these two cars. They are such talents as well.
Big understeer there for Tony into turn 12. You could see he really had to wait on the car, had a lot of steering input, just trying to keep the car on the racetrack. So that front end is not biting just what he needs yet. See him having to wait there, just be super patient before he can get back to power through this triple apex sweeper.
I think it is important to keep noting here, not only is the track damp, but drying, but damp. It's cold here, so it's not like you're getting a lot of heat in the tires just to begin with.
That's right. And that's a huge factor, and that's why you want to try and push hard and just keep loading that tire, generating the energy in the tire and getting the temps and the pressures built.
Dial goes to the top at the end of the first lap. A lot of time off of some 3-4 seconds off of where that first group was running. Colin Braun jumps into second. So the two DXDT Mercedes doing a nice job. Wielander third, Hensler in the 24 Allegra Porsche fourth, and Anthony Lazzaro in the AM class, Risi Ferrari jumped briefly into fifth.
Liafouge up to second in the BMW. Great to see BMW back in the GT paddock.
Here's the Scotsman, Ryan Dial. Yeah, and it is great to have BMW back in the GT3 program. On board with Ryan right now.
A lot of experience, has a lot of relationships in the paddock, one of which was with Richard Rader, who kind of is heading up this DXDT team as the team manager there. He ran Ryan with the Sierra team back in the former Atlantic days to great effect. So that's what you need as a driver. As you walk through your career, you want to have established various networks of people that you've worked with, and they move on to new programs, and that creates new opportunities for you. So important for a young driver not to burn any bridges and be invited back.
He was twice second in that, and that was in the heyday of the Formula Atlantic Championship, the Toyota Atlantic Championship for many years, and you could see it. He was definitely going to be somebody special, and that is exactly how it has played out.
Soule jumps to the top in the number 3 Bentley, Baptista's teammate. Ryan backs out, just tries to find some clean air right now.
Nicely, that's the 24 of Hensler slide through. Kyle Marcelli goes to the top. And that is the Acura NSX from Racer's Edge. We talked about that team stepping up from GT4 to GT3. And Marcelli certainly has experience in GT3 cars. Martin Barkey, not so much. Wielander now to the top. And now we're getting to it, a 2:11 flat, Cal.
Yeah, and we're going to see some really quick lap times here. I don't think you're going to get down to the dry times of yesterday, but maybe 8s, 9s potentially.
And there's watching that number 5. That's Ryan Eversley behind the wheel now, the Gradient Acura.
We mentioned going to be 3 Acuras potentially being campaigned in the second round, or the third and fourth round, should I say, second event of the championship at VIR later in April.
The original co-driver slated for this car had a conflict, Mark Miller, and nice that Ryan Eversley's got a lot of experience in these NSX GT3s, was able to step in and help the team out.
And he got a call when this car was being campaigned for the first time last year by the team manager, and Ryan helped him out. I said, how did this deal come about? He said, well, they called on me last year. I gave him some setup information, and then suddenly when they were looking for someone to jump in here, obviously Ryan is associated with the Acura brand in a big way. He was the natural choice. So again, you just got to create those little segues into new programs, relationships. It's all about building those and creating opportunities for these drivers.
Comes across the line and
up to fourth.
Up to fourth, yeah. By the way, Jeff Siegel in the 31 TR3 Ferrari has jumped to second, but good lap by Eversley. Hargrove, and as we say it, Scott Hargrove in the 58 Porsche went to the top at a 2:10.59, and Soule in the number 3 Bentley at 2:10.1. Is your provisional pole as we watch Siegel now. And this guy is just magic every time he gets the nod to drive a Ferrari.
You can see in there as he turned into that corner, just trying to work the front end. Wasn't there initially, had to take another little stab at it to get the front pointed in. This is fun for a driver, just really work and try to find that grip. It's what it's all about at the ultimate level, even when the track is completely dry, but in these conditions, even more so feeling that seat of the pants feel. How much is this racetrack going to give me right now? Where are the tires at? How do they match? How do they blend?
And if you're on an absolute full chat qualifying lap, you've got that little groove of dry track. It's like running a very narrow street course, because you get off into that damp, you're going to skate. And to be able to have that level of precision, and he turns a 2:09.4 and goes to the top provisionally. And that is what Jeff Siegel can do.
Well, this will be fun, because Siegel and Dial, they got into it a little bit here last year, remember?
Did.
There was no love lost after that one. And so it'll be fun to see if those guys are sharing the same row of the grid at the start of race 2 tomorrow.
Fun onboard look. Right off the side of this machine. There's the number 3 of Soule. Oh, and Michael De Quesada jumping to the top at a 2:09.39. Number 22 Allegra Porsche.
We said 8s and 9s are already in that range, and there's still some time left on the board. Can we get down into those 6s potentially? Maybe a 7 is feasible. Every lap is quicker.
Riding on board here, Kyle Marcelli in the number 80 Racer's Edge. MBRP Performance Exhaust Acura.
Everyone's setting personal best.
Hargrove to the top again.
Marcelli's got some quick sectors going down as well. Watch out for him finishing this lap right now. There he is, coming into the final corner. What can he put down for the Acura brand? Brent to the top momentarily.
Maxi Boop goes through.
Marcelli,
as you said. My,
flat.
That's a lap.
It is a lap within 2 seconds of yesterday's quick time. So the grip is starting to establish itself. Oh, he pushed in deep there, lost the front end. Didn't lose too much time, maybe half a tenth.
That's a 7/10 clear of the field right now. That was a mega lap. Here's Eversley. Nylander just jumped to second now at a 2:08.5.
Eversley personal best sector 1, but he's a couple of tenths off of Marcelli. See now, sector 2 is right down towards the entry point for turn 12. We'll take another look and another gauge on how the lap is going.
And Antonucci just set fastest lap or time in the 3rd sector and makes his first appearance up in the top 10. And ooh, and a spin by Eversley.
He was just pushing really hard. Probably was getting the lap times delivered to him in terms of who's on the pole. And if he heard that name Marcelli, he's probably thinking, well, this car has got the pace. Let me try and dig a little bit deeper. He's driving the Acura NSX, of course. Needs to regroup right now. Let's take a look here. Just try to roll through the corner with a bit too much speed. The rear end just wasn't quite underneath him.
He did a nice job of keeping it running, and also was watching the tire rotation on the rears when he spun, and they never locked up. So that's good news. Marcelli just set another fast second.
First and second.
He is hooked up.
Watch Soule here complete his lap. What does he have he can put down? Bentley front row for the first race. Can we see Bentley's Starting up front for race 2.
Third.
The third, but not enough. And Marcelli's on an even quicker lap if he can finish it off.
2:08.033, his best lap, the provisional pole lap.
Yeah, I think Emily has hit pit lane.
Maxi Book has jumped the 71 P1 Mercedes up to the lead.
Wow.
At a 2:07.3.
Fastest third sector for Buick.
And it was massively fast because Marcelli had those 2 fast sectors and ended up second, Cal, at 2:07.4. That last sector by Book was hugely fast.
Well, you can see he's really loading the car, starting to show the pace that we saw yesterday. Track is really dry right now. You can see the rub strips on the underneath of the chassis starting to hit the deck. That means they got the car fully loaded and trying to find the pace. They realize this is the lap that's going to count. Don't think he's going to see another one after this. I'm not sure it's going to time out, back time into the stripe.
New
Under a minute to go, lock up there for
Brent.
Number 9, K-Pax Bentley. Good clean exit there by Buick. Mercedes looking tough.
He's a Mercedes factory driver that's coming in and helping this P1 team.
One of the team this weekend, they said he doesn't say a lot regarding the setup. We'll give you the real basics and then expect you to go and fix it. Some engineers like that, some engineers don't. So it's early days yet. They're just working with a new group. A lot of changing personnel there. We're now on board with Hargrove. Got some work to do on this lap.
Project Consulting, number 58 from Wright Motorsports.
Eats up that apex curbing there in 19. Within the track boundaries and limits there through 19. Final corner. What can he squeak out here? He's not been personal best in the first sector.
All right, let's see. Soule jumps up into third, in the number 3. Marcelli put together another fastest first sector. Here comes Maxi Book in the Mercedes. Brent hits pit lane. You see to the right, Book to the top.
Slower though, slower lap.
Oh, and then Marcelli follows him through.
He gets it. Pips him to the pole.
2:07.2. Fabulous lap by Marcelli. We saw him have that fastest first sector. Knew it would be close.
Racer's edge have got to be ecstatic if they can hold on to that pole position as other drivers finish off their final lap. They only got that car about 35 days ago. To put it on the pole in this level of competition is making a big statement.
Vielander just made a big jump to third as he flashed through in the red Ferrari.
He needed that.
Yep, Soule fourth, Dial in the Mercedes for DXDT into fifth, and look at sixth. Martin Fuentes in the All-Am number 7 Squadra Corsa Hublot Ferrari. Absolutely
3/10 off for Vielander. That's a great performance by Martin.
Oh, and then Siegel snuck it in the TR3 Ferrari, the black number 31 right at the end, 4th overall.
Sneaky Siegel.
Yes, he is. Wow, what a great qualifying session.
Look at Brent. He is buried in the pack in the number 9 car. He's in pit lane. He'll see now a faster time, so our pole sitter for race 1 is very deep for the start of race 2.
And look right at I think maybe the last car coming through, Michael De Quesada in the 22 Allegra InSync Porsche, 3rd. What a story for that team as well.
It's the young kids who are doing it. Thought maybe Hensler and Halter, maybe the faster car there, not so. The young kids getting it done. Daniel Morad fastest of the Porsches in the earlier session. De Quesada does it for race 2. This is an awesome story.
Isn't this?
Carl Marcelli, really talented young man. Had a lot of victories last year, Greg. Couple in GT3 competition. He had 5 victories on the year. It's a neat story how he approached Martin Barkey for some sponsorship.
Yes,
about a handful of years ago. I think it was 2012. Sat down in his office and Martin politely declined, and he went back to the table a year later. Martin said, okay, I'll give you a chance, and that has really helped Martin create a great marketing platform for his business, and they've stayed in touch, and now they're sharing a car together. It's a great story of a young man who really works really hard at his craft behind the wheel and off the racetrack as well.
And this car is the Evo for the NSX. In the past, they had some problems, particularly with the diffuser in the back, and the car was a bit pitch sensitive. But they have nailed it now, and the car is much stronger, and it is making its way down into the pits where Ryan Marine is located.
John Maraki, team owner for Racers Edge. I know this deal came together kind of last minute, but there's high expectations. Do you think we've seen that borne out here in qualifying?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of validation of all the hard work. It took 5 months to put the program together, but we only had the car for 35 days. So I'm really proud of the guys, proud of Kyle, just proud of everything to be able to accomplish this and get pole in our first race. Really, really exciting.
Outstanding stuff. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think it's doubly remarkable too. Just the simple fact that he talked about only had the car 35 days. They did 2 tests. The first one was at Roebling Road, and it wasn't with the new spec car. So then they do the updates, and they come and they test here, go right to racing, and do this.
It's remarkable. I mean,
stunning.
That is stunning. For that team to come from GT4 class of competition and put that car together and put it on the pole. I mean, I'm amazed he wasn't in tears, literally, because that is a huge effort. He was so proud. They went on the track here on Thursday, and in the first practice session, they went quickest. And he said, I sat all of my guys down and told them how proud I was. So this is an even prouder moment for that whole group.
And then you take a look. I mean, these are great stories. You've got all of these established regular front-running teams. This new program on the pole, P1, only been racing for a few years. Second, you take a look, Michael De Quesada, late change, as you said, with the Allegra Porsche team to bring him in, pair him up with Murad, third. And, look at the drivers that they have out-qualified in this session. That says a lot. I think Antonucci, again, to be in the top 10 in the switch for that team. And I think always, Martin Fuentes, just an absolutely superb job once again. So it's fantastic stuff. As you can see, still a little hazy, a little foggy. But at least the rain has stopped, and that's good news, because in not too much longer we will be back, and it will be racing for the rest of the afternoon from Circuit of the Americas for the Blancpain GT World Challenge America.